A vast grassland spread out before them, where hundreds of figures clashed, creating waves of turbulent primordial energy that spread like a surging tide. The ferocity of the battle even caused the energy in the surrounding heaven and earth to become unstable. It appeared to be a siege, with dozens of powerful individuals from the evil wind cave heaven at the center, now struggling under the assault from various forces around them. Whoosh! Amidst the chaos, a beam of light suddenly shot across the distant sky. An elderly figure appeared in a flash, waving his sleeve to unleash a wave of deathly black energy. Those unfortunate enough to be touched by it screamed in agony, half their bodies quickly paralyzed. A death mystique stage powerhouse? The sudden attack caused the attackers to change their expressions and look over, quickly recognizing who it was. It's Elder Demon Scorpion of the Evil Wind Cave Heaven. He's here too. The old figure fully emerged under their shocked gazes. His hair was disheveled, and he looked somewhat haggard, but his eyes burned with fury and malice. Elder Scorpion. The members of the Evil Wind Cave Heaven were overjoyed at the sight, swiftly rushing to his side. You scoundrels dare to target our Evil Wind Cave Heaven. Elder Demon Scorpion's gaze was sinister as he glared at the surrounding forces. The suppressed rage in his heart erupted as he took a step forward, releasing a massive wave of black energy. Seeing this, the other powerhouses retreated quickly, realizing they stood no chance against a death mystique stage powerhouse. Hee, Elder Scorpion, no need for anger. This is all just a misunderstanding. Just as Elder Demon Scorpion was about to strike, several more streaks of light flew in from afar. Zhou Qian and Chen Ying, dressed in white, reappeared, each accompanied by an elder radiating faint black energy, a clear sign they were also death mystique stage powerhouses. It seemed they had brought strong reinforcements. So, it's Elder Qin of the Cosmic Cave Heaven and Elder Lu of the Phantom Demon Sect. Elder Demon Scorpion's gaze lingered on the two newcomers, a cold smile on his face. Elder Demon Scorpion, with your status, bullying these youngsters isn't much of an accomplishment, the white-haired Elder Qin remarked with a smile. It's none of your business, Elder Demon Scorpion replied coldly. Haha, I heard the Silver Tower fell into your hands. Our Phantom Demon Sect would love to get involved. Elder Lu laughed. Elder Lu is right. How about sharing the Silver Tower, Elder Scorpion? Elder Qin suggested with a smile. Dream on. Elder Demon Scorpion's eyes turned icy. In that case, it seems Elder Qin and I will have to fight you for it, Elder Lu said with a grin. Do you think I fear you? Elder Demon Scorpion retorted. Elders, no matter what you threaten, we don't have the Silver Tower, interjected Xie Yin, frowning. What do you mean? Elder Qin asked, frowning. Xie Yin hesitated before explaining, just now, the Silver Tower was taken by Lin Dong. Everyone was stunned at first, but soon their eyes filled with ridicule. Elder Demon Scorpion, do you take us for fools? That Lin Dong is said to only be at the minor completion of the Life Mystique stage. Are you saying he took something from a Death Mystique stage powerhouse? Do you think we're idiots? Elder Lu scoffed. Elder Demon Scorpion's old face twitched before he said coldly, believe it or not, it's no longer with us. If you want to fight, I'll be your opponent. Elder Lu and Elder Qin hesitated, frowning at Elder Demon Scorpion's demeanor. Could Xie Yin be telling the truth? But how could Lin Dong possibly take something from a Death Mystique stage powerhouse? All members of the Evil Wind Cave Heaven, follow me. That kid can't have gone far. Elder Demon Scorpion shot a dark look at the other elders before turning and leading his group away. He couldn't swallow this insult. Whoosh, whoosh. In the sky, everyone watched as the Evil Wind Cave Heaven group quickly departed, momentarily speechless. Elder Qin, I've heard that Lin Dong once severely injured Elder Evilbone from Evil Wind Cave Heaven. He must possess some extraordinary methods. If someone were to steal something from Demon Scorpion Elder, it's not entirely impossible, Zhou Qian remarked, furrowing his brows as he observed the scene. If that's true, this kid, he's quite formidable. Elder Qin chuckled softly. No wonder Demon Scorpion Elder is so enraged. So that's what happened. If word of this spreads, he'll lose all his reputation. What should we do? Zhou Qian asked. No matter what tricks that kid has, he's only at the minor completion of the life mystique stage. Even if he managed to repel Demon Scorpion Elder, it must have cost him dearly. Right now, he's probably running on fumes. Elder Qin's eyes gleamed. Send out the order to track down Lin Dong. As long as we capture him, the Silver Tower will belong to Cosmic Cave Heaven. Zhou Qian nodded and turned to gather the strong warriors of Cosmic Cave Heaven. After a brief, hushed discussion, their figures flickered and swiftly disappeared, scattering in different directions. Meanwhile, other factions, their eyes gleaming with intent, also began to move. To them, it was more advantageous for the Silver Tower to fall into Lin Dong's hands. Dealing with one person was far easier than confronting Evil Wind Cave Heaven. Above the vast blue ocean, the sound of rushing wind suddenly broke through the air. Two streaks of light shot rapidly across the sky, leaving deep, turbulent trails across the water below. The news that we stole the Silver Tower has probably spread. One of the streaks of light slowed, revealing Lin Dong's figure. His gaze swept toward the distant horizon, and his brows furrowed. Not long ago, he had sensed a large number of people searching for them, and from the scale of the pursuit, it was obvious that it wasn't just Evil Wind Cave Heaven behind it. There could only be one reason for this. Word of them seizing the Silver Tower had already leaked. Lin Dong, what should we do now? Lingshan, who was following closely beside him, asked in her clear voice. We need to lay low for a bit, Lin Dong said after a moment of thought. He was in terrible shape. Although he had scared off Demon Scorpion Elder, the effort had drained him completely. If they encountered more pursuers now, he would struggle to fight back effectively. Moreover, with the Silver Tower in his possession, he needed time to investigate its connection to the Thunder Ancestral Talisman. Lingshan didn't seem to mind. She nodded obediently. Seeing this, Lin Dong waved his sleeve, summoning the heaven-burning cauldron once again. A surge of crimson light engulfed them both, drawing them into the cauldron. In the next instant, the cauldron transformed into a streak of red light, diving into the sea and disappearing without a trace. Not long after Lin Dong and Lingshan submerged, the sound of rushing wind could be heard from afar. A dozen figures arrived, scanning the surface of the water. After muttering a few curses, they quickly dispersed. The entire sea region had clearly become more lively with activity. In the depths of the ocean, beneath a massive coral reef, a faint red glow flickered. A palm-sized cauldron lay hidden, its light gradually fading until it was perfectly concealed. Even if a powerful expert at the Death Mystique stage passed by, they wouldn't detect its presence. Pure primordial treasures often had unique attributes. For instance, Lingshan's life and death coffin lid had immense destructive power. While Lin Dong's heaven-burning cauldron might not be as lethal, it contained its own internal space. In some aspects, the cauldron even surpassed the coffin lid. At that moment, within the space inside the heaven-burning cauldron, Lin Dong sat cross-legged in midair. Suspended before him was a small silver tower, faint ripples of energy emanating from it, accompanied by a faint crackle of thunder. Take your time, Lin Dong. I'm going to nap for a bit. Lingshan stretched lazily, feeling somewhat bored by the cauldron's crimson interior. She then took out her life and death coffin lid, curling up like a little kitten on top of it, slowly drifting off to sleep under Lin Dong's helpless gaze. This girl. Lin Dong chuckled wryly and shook his head. He quickly refocused his attention on the silver tower, his eyes burning with curiosity. After a brief moment of thought, he extended his hand, lightly touching the cold surface of the tower. At the same time, a trace of spiritual energy flowed from his fingertip, attempting to infiltrate the tower. Buzz. The moment Lin Dong's spiritual energy made contact, the tower suddenly vibrated. A thunderous roar echoed, forcefully repelling his spiritual probe. Ugh! Lin Dong let out a muffled groan as his hand was knocked back, his fingers numb. He frowned, staring at the tower. Thin arcs of lightning were now flickering across its surface, blocking any further attempts to probe it. Yin, what's going on? The silver tower is sealed, and accessing the information within won't be easy. You should count yourself lucky to have this thing, or else the information would have long been claimed by the evil wind cave heaven, Yin remarked. What should we do then? Lin Dong furrowed his brow. The seal seemed quite formidable. If even the evil wind cave heaven hadn't managed to break it quickly, he wasn't confident he could either. There is a trace of the Thunder Ancestral Talisman's power within this silver tower. That's likely the source of the seal. For ordinary people, breaking it would indeed require considerable effort. But you're different. You possess the devouring ancestral talisman. That trace of thunder power won't pose much of a barrier to you, Yin explained. I see. Lin Dong nodded slightly. He extended his hand, and black light shot out from his fingertips, striking the silver tower. Sizzle. As the black light, formed from devouring energy, touched the tower, a burst of white smoke rose from its surface. The flickering thunder gradually dimmed, as if the source of its power was being slowly consumed and dissolved by the black energy. The clash between the thunder and the black light continued for roughly half an hour, during which the thunder web covering the silver tower dimmed little by little until it finally dissipated completely. Thunk! When the last trace of thunder vanished, a faint muffled sound came from within the tower. Lin Dong grinned and sent a thread of spiritual energy inside. This time, there was no resistance. As his spiritual energy poured in, images began to flood into Lin Dong's mind. Boom, boom, boom. The first thing he saw was a sky filled with endless dark clouds, through which bolts of lightning darted like swimming dragons, occasionally exploding with deafening roars. The thunder echoed across the sky, reverberating without end. Beneath the seemingly boundless thunderclouds lay a vast ocean, just as endless as the sky. The water was pitch black, resembling the clouds above, making the sea and sky appear as one seamless, oppressive black expanse. Lin Dong's spiritual energy floated in this realm of thunderclouds, trembling every time the thunder rumbled. A primal fear seeped into his consciousness. He peered into the distance, and suddenly, countless bolts of lightning descended from the sky, striking a particular part of the sea. The water boiled, and silvery lightning essence surged wildly across the surface. Amid the interweaving thunder, Lin Dong could vaguely see a colossal cave mansion emerging. The entire mansion was enveloped in lightning, its silver radiance blindingly bright. Violent, overwhelming energy rippled outward, stirring up massive waves in the sea. Is this the legendary cave mansion left behind by a reincarnation powerhouse? Lin Dong's gaze narrowed as he looked at the massive structure shrouded in lightning. In the next moment, black light glimmered in his eyes, causing the surrounding thunder to gradually recede. His gaze swept inch by inch across the mansion, eventually freezing at its deepest point. There, within a brilliant cluster of lightning, he saw a flowing mass of lightning essence. It had no fixed shape, sometimes forming a sword, sometimes turning into pure lightning, and occasionally transforming into an ancient rune. From that lightning essence, Lin Dong could sense a very familiar aura, one that was almost identical to the devouring ancestral talisman. Huff! Lin Dong took a deep breath, barely containing his excitement. He knew that the mass of lightning essence was the second ancestral talisman he had been searching for. The Thunder Ancestral Talisman. Boom! Suddenly, a massive bolt of lightning, stretching 1,000 feet across, crashed down from the sky, tearing through the heavens. The deafening roar shook Lin Dong's spiritual energy, causing it to blur momentarily. When he regained focus, he found himself back outside the silver tower. Buzz! As Lin Dong's spiritual energy withdrew from the tower, a streak of lightning shot out and entered his forehead. When the lightning struck Lin Dong's forehead, a flood of information surged into his mind, overwhelming him for a long while before finally subsiding. Lin Dong rubbed his forehead gently, digesting the vast amount of information. His expression shifted subtly as he processed it, and after about 10 minutes, he slowly opened his eyes, then tilted his head back and exhaled a breath of white mist. Heavenly Undersea region? So the Thunder Ancestral Talisman is there? As the narrative unfolds, Lin Dong discovers that the lightning flash he encountered earlier contained not only powerful energy but also a clue: the exact location of the heavenly Undersea region. After comparing it with the map he had, Lin Dong realizes that this matches the spot marked as the second location of an ancestral talisman on his spiritual map. In other words, the Thunder ancestral talisman is precisely at this second marked spot. Fate is truly unpredictable, Lin Dong muses. The heavenly Undersea region. It should be in an unknown area of the Chaos Demon Sea, southwest of here. Lin Dong rubs his temples, examining the sea chart of the heavenly Undersea region and comparing it to the map of the Chaos Demon Sea he already knows. He quickly figures out the general direction. Though it's quite far from where he currently is in the Celestial Merchant region, Lin Dong's determination to track down the ancestral talismans is unwavering. No distance can stop him. Looking down at the silver tower before him, a smile of relief spreads across Lin Dong's young face. He whispers softly to himself, "After all these years, I've finally found you." As the news of Lin Dong taking the silver tower spreads rapidly, the surrounding seas of the Celestial Merchant region are thrown into chaos. Various forces dispatch their troops to search for it, eager to seize the tower for themselves. Even some powerful lone cultivators get involved, hoping to claim a piece of the prize. After all, the allure of a reincarnation powerhouse's cave mansion is simply too tempting to resist. However, despite the commotion, their efforts bear little fruit. While chaos reigns on the surface, deep beneath the sea, the crimson heaven-burning cauldron remains quietly hidden, patiently waiting for the storm to pass. This frenzy lasts for about half a month. As the search proves fruitless, the various factions reluctantly withdraw, realizing that Lin Dong must have long since left the area. No matter how powerful they are, finding a single person in the endless Chaos Demon Sea is no easy task. As the commotion gradually subsides, deep in the coral reef where it had been hidden for nearly 2 weeks, the crimson heaven-burning cauldron begins to shimmer once more. With a slight tremor, it shoots out from the reef. Whoosh! The cauldron bursts out of the water, but Lin Dong and his companion don't immediately reveal themselves. Instead, they cautiously control the cauldron, stealthily slipping through the sea. While some of the searches extended underwater, the heaven-burning cauldron's excellent concealment abilities make it nearly impossible for ordinary people to detect them. They continue their underwater journey for an entire day. Only when Lin Dong senses that the number of search parties on the sea surface has dwindled significantly does he finally guide the cauldron to break through the water. Finally, fresh air. Lingshan, unable to hold back any longer, dashes out of the cauldron the moment they surface, clearly having had enough of being cooped up inside. "Well, we did stir up quite the mess," Lin Dong chuckles. Their names must have already spread across the seas near the Celestial Merchant region. After all, it's not every day that someone at the minor completion of the Life Mystique stage dares to steal from a Death Mystique stage powerhouse. "Lin Dong, where are we headed now?" Lingshan's large eyes look up at him with curiosity. "The heavenly Undersea region, of course," Lin Dong grins. "We have the key to the reincarnation powerhouse's cave mansion. It would be a real waste not to go after it." "The reincarnation powerhouse's cave mansion? Count me in." Lingshan's eyes sparkle with excitement as she eagerly nods. She had left her clan for an adventure, and following Lin Dong to the mysterious mansion fits her plans perfectly. Seeing her enthusiasm, Lin Dong smiles and nods, then gazes into the distance. "According to the sea chart, we're quite far from the heavenly Undersea region. Even with our speed, it'll take us about a month to get there. We'll need a vehicle," Lingshan says, tilting her head. "Traveling across the sea can be dangerous. There are frequent storms, and some of them are so deadly that even Death Mystique stage cultivators avoid them. We could end up delayed." "A vehicle? We don't have one," Lin Dong says, a bit surprised. "Hee hee," Lingshan giggles mischievously before leaping onto the sea surface. Placing her small hand against the water, she sends out a peculiar sound wave at an incredible speed, rapidly spreading through the sea. Lin Dong curiously observed the scene before him, waiting quietly. After about half an hour, his heart suddenly stirred. A massive shadow seemed to appear from the depths of the ocean, followed by towering waves crashing upwards. A clear whale cry echoed as a colossal blue whale, several hundred feet in length, broke through the surface and came into Lin Dong's view. This is... Lin Dong stared in astonishment at the blue whale. Its enormous body was covered in glowing patterns, faintly emanating a sense of the immense energy contained within. This is a sea-suppressing mystic whale. In the Chaos Demon Sea, it's one of the 5 fastest sea beasts. No storm can stop its advance. Hee, with this as our ride, we can speed up our journey. Lin Dong, you're fast, but in the ocean, there's no way you could match it, Lingshan said playfully as she landed on the whale's back, giving it a pat with her small hand before turning to Lin Dong with a mischievous grin. Lin Dong's gaze lingered on the massive creature in fascination. He then smiled, leaping down from the air to sit on the whale's enormous back. As he settled, the glowing patterns on the whale's body flickered, and a faint light barrier emerged, enveloping them in protection. This sea-suppressing mystic whale, its power must be on par with a great completion life mystique stage expert. Lin Dong marveled at the immense force surging within the whale beneath him. He couldn't help but click his tongue in awe. Thankfully, Lingshan, being from the immortal sacred whale clan, possessed absolute authority and control over all whale species. Without her, capturing such a powerful sea beast to serve as their ride would have been nearly impossible. Let's go, Lingshan exclaimed, her voice ringing with laughter like a bell. The sea-suppressing mystic whale let out a low hum, and the ocean trembled as its massive form transformed into a streak of blue light. In an instant, it shot forward like an arrow, cutting through the waves. Watching this, Lin Dong smiled in satisfaction. With this whale, they should be able to reach the heavenly Undersea region ahead of schedule. Unbeknownst to Lin Dong and Lingshan, as they sped toward their destination, far away across the vast sea, a flash of light streaked through the waters. The light moved at an astonishing speed, but oddly, it didn't disturb the water at all. It seemed as though the light itself had merged with the sea. Swoosh! Suddenly, the light came to a halt, condensing into the faint shape of a figure. The figure stretched out a hand, grasping the seawater in front of them. It's the whale summoning melody. This fluctuation, it must be that little girl, the figure muttered to themselves. Then, without another word, their form blurred and vanished into the water like a ghost. Lin Dong sat cross-legged atop the sea-suppressing mystic whale, his eyes closed. The vigorous flow of primordial energy swirled around him, continuously refining his body and meridians with each breath. His aura fluctuated, his primordial energy surging and waning unpredictably. This was a familiar sign, one that typically appeared when a breakthrough in strength was imminent. Clearly, after so much training and the many fierce battles he had endured, Lin Dong's power had quietly advanced once again. He had now reached the peak of minor completion in the life mystique stage, just one step away from the great completion stage. Such rapid progress was remarkable, to say the least. I might as well take advantage of this journey to break through to the great completion stage. Lin Dong suddenly opened his eyes, feeling the surging power within. Clenching his fist, he murmured to himself. Though he possessed methods to contend with death mystique stage experts, those techniques could only be used once. After a single use, his energy would be heavily depleted, drastically reducing his combat ability. His previous victories against Elder Evilbone and the Demon Scorpion Elder were mainly due to their fear of death. Had the fight dragged on, it would have been him who suffered the most. For this reason, Lin Dong knew that relying on borrowed power from external sources was unreliable. His true strength needed to come from within. I still have 2 drops of Earth Core Spirit Essence left. I could use them to try breaking through, Lin Dong muttered softly. With a flick of his wrist, a jade bottle appeared in his hand. But just as he was about to begin, his expression suddenly changed. His head snapped up, eyes fixed on the sky ahead, where the space had started to warp strangely. At the same time, the sea-suppressing mystic whale let out a sharp cry, halting its massive body as it warily eyed the distorted space. We're being watched. Lin Dong's face turned slightly grim as he spoke, and judging by the situation, The person targeting them seemed far from ordinary. A hum filled the air. Above, the sky distorted, twisting until it formed a spatial tunnel. Then, from that tunnel, Lin Dong and his companion watched as a man dressed in dark robes slowly stepped out. The man's long hair billowed behind him, his clothes adorned with skeletal patterns. His hands, which emerged from his wide sleeves, appeared unusually slender and long. Yet, they faintly emitted intertwining streams of black and white energy. Hee, so you're the ones who took the silver tower? The black-robed man looked down at Lin Dong and his companion with a calm smile, speaking in a light tone. Who are you? Lin Dong asked, his voice low and wary. The man thought for a moment, his eyes fixed on Lin Dong before a smile slowly crept across his face. In a soft, measured voice, he replied, I am Wu Xian, the cave lord of evil wind cave heaven. Lin Dong's pupils instantly contracted. The deep blue sea stretched out beneath them, a massive whale floating on its surface. Occasionally, a gust of sea breeze would pass by, but it couldn't dispel the almost suffocating tension in the air. Before the whale, Wu Xian, the long-haired man in black robes, wore a gentle smile, appearing rather amicable. However, Lin Dong could sense the icy coldness lurking beneath that smile. The cave lord of evil wind cave heaven. Wu Xian. Lin Dong's lips tightened, his expression darkening. He had never imagined that the person tracking them was such a towering figure. In all of Chaos Demon Sea, Wu Xian was a top-tier powerhouse. Revolution stage? Lin Dong clenched his fist. The black and white energy surrounding Wu Xian clearly indicated he had reached the fusion of life and death. In other words, this cave lord had stepped into the revolution stage, placing him on par with the leaders of the great sects in the Eastern Mystery region. This is trouble, Lin Dong muttered, furrowing his brow. If the one chasing them had been someone in the death mystique stage, he might have had a chance to escape. But now, facing a genuine revolution stage powerhouse, it was a battle where he would be utterly crushed. I never expected the cave lord of evil wind, cave heaven would lower himself to chase after two juniors. Lin Dong took a deep breath, then looked up at Wu Xian. Hee, it's not that I came for you specifically. I was returning from a trip and happened to hear some news along the way. So, I thought I'd drop by. Wu Xian smiled, his tone relaxed. Stealing from others isn't exactly a good thing. Hand over what you took, and then come with me to Evil Wind Cave Heaven. How about that? His smile was gentle, even sounding like he was negotiating. But Lin Dong knew this type of person was the most dangerous. Lin Dong smiled faintly, exchanging a glance with Lingshan. In the next moment, the sea-suppressing mystic whale suddenly lashed its massive tail, sending a towering water column soaring toward Wu Xian. At the same time, its enormous body quickly dove toward the sea's depths. Boom! The water column exploded apart, but before it could reach Wu Xian, a powerful force dispersed it 10 meters away from him. Wu Xian smiled slightly, waving his sleeve, and the ocean beneath them froze solid. The mystic whale's massive body came to an abrupt halt, unable to dive any further. What impolite little brats! Wu Xian chuckled softly. Then, with a graceful motion, his slender hand extended. Since that's the case, I'll have to personally deal with you. Swoosh! Just as Wu Xian's voice fell, a cold glint flashed in Lin Dong's eyes. With a sharp stomp on the mystic whale's back, his figure shot forward, appearing behind Wu Xian in the blink of an eye. In his hand, a blood-red light flickered. The light streaked from his palm, leaving behind a thin trail of blood as it sliced through the air. Roar! A torrent of bloodthirsty energy surged from the blood-red light, ripping through the space as it transformed into a razor-sharp crimson blade aimed directly at Wu Xian's vital point. Facing me, you dare to strike first? Such boldness, truly impressive. Wu Xian smiled faintly, but without turning around, he flicked his finger. A stream of black and white energy shot out, colliding fiercely with the blood-red light. Bang! A crisp sound echoed as the blood-red light, brimming with lethal intent, was effortlessly deflected. The crimson glow dimmed, revealing a blood-colored fang, the tooth of the demon shark, a lower-grade pure primordial treasure Lin Dong had obtained. Yet, even with all his power behind it, Wu Xian had easily nullified the attack. The strength of a revolution stage expert was truly terrifying. So what if you're the cave lord of evil wind cave heaven? A good dog knows not to block the way. As Lin Dong's attack was thwarted, a petite figure suddenly leaped into the air. With a loud shout, Lingshan swung the life and death coffin lid, her primordial energy surging as she ruthlessly slammed it toward Wu Xian. Wu Xian's face remained calm as he extended his hand, his palm meeting the oncoming life and death coffin lid with a muffled sound. His body didn't move an inch, while Lingshan was forcefully thrown back by the impact. "You little girl, you're too reckless. You'll get yourself into trouble this way." Wu Xian gazed indifferently at Lingshan as she was sent flying. Then, with a casual stretch of his long fingers, he summoned a black and white beam of energy filled with the aura of life and death, tearing through space as it shot towards her like lightning. Swoosh! Just as the beam was about to strike Lingshan, a flash of azure light appeared. Lin Dong, holding her in his arms, rolled several times through the air, barely managing to evade the deadly attack. "Lingshan, you need to leave now," Lin Dong whispered to her, his tone low and his face dark, as the wings of the azure dragon on his back fluttered slightly. Lin Dong was well aware of the dire situation they were in, but he wasn't hopeless. He was far stronger now than he had been when he faced the alien demon city. If he gave it his all, he might just be able to escape from Wu Xian's grasp, though only if he was alone. "Leave? Do you really think that's possible?" Lin Dong's low voice still reached Wu Xian's ears, causing him to chuckle softly, though a cold gleam flickered in his eyes. His patience was wearing thin. "Go!" Lin Dong's palm pressed against Lingshan, sending a gentle force that propelled her towards the surface of the sea. With a wave of his sleeve, a crimson light shot out, transforming into a massive cauldron. The heaven-burning cauldron's mouth flared with brilliance, aiming to swallow Wu Xian whole. "Lin Dong, if anything happens to you, I'll have my great-uncle wipe out evil wind cave heaven," Lingshan shouted as she landed on the sea's surface, biting her lip. Despite her words, she knew deep down that staying wouldn't help Lin Dong in the slightest, so she turned to dive into the ocean. "Wipe out my evil wind cave heaven." A flash of coldness flickered in Wu Xian's eyes as his figure vanished like a ghost, causing the heaven-burning cauldron to miss its target. "Lingshan, watch out!" Lin Dong cried out in alarm as Wu Xian disappeared, realizing that he was likely going after her. Lingshan's face paled as she twisted her body, diving into the water. But just as she submerged, Wu Xian reappeared above the sea, stomping hard on the surface. Boom! The entire sea seemed to erupt. Countless water columns shot into the sky, and a small figure was thrown out, battered by the overwhelming force, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. "You bastard!" Seeing this, rage surged in Lin Dong's eyes. Clenching his fists, a strange light array faintly began to form between his palms. However, Wu Xian ignored him, his figure flashing as he appeared in front of Lingshan. With his fingers curved like a blade, black and white light swirling at his fingertips like a dagger of life and death, he aimed directly at her throat without mercy. Bang! Just as Wu Xian's deathly fingers were about to pierce Lingshan's throat, the sea below suddenly sank, and a blue light intertwined with black and white energy shot out, targeting Wu Xian. The sudden attack caused Wu Xian's expression to change, halting his strike as he redirected his fingers to clash with the blue light. Boom! The clash sent terrifying energy waves rippling through the sky, while another massive water column shot upwards. From within the column, a shadow darted out like a ghost, snatching Lingshan from midair. "Who are you? Why are you meddling in the affairs of evil wind, cave heaven?" Wu Xian stepped back a few paces, his face darkening slightly as he spoke coldly. As the downpour from the sky cascaded, Lin Dong also turned to look, his eyes filled with surprise. Standing amidst the rain was a man in blue robes, his handsome face framed by a pair of piercing, ocean blue eyes. From afar, he seemed to embody the depths of the sea, unfathomable and profound. Evil wind, cave heaven? The man, holding Mu Lingshan, glanced at Wu Xian, a chilling smirk forming at the corners of his lips.